Wavy Gravy is.
Wavy Gravy is.
Wavy Gravy is.
Wavy Gravy is.
Hold on. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Wavy Gravy, hippie icon, flower geezer, and temple of accumulated error.
Here's a little song about
I am part of an expanded family called the Hog Farm, thus named because we were given a mountaintop rent-free if we would care for 50 hogs. So we began to drive around America in a caravan of buses, putting on these celebrations called the Hog Farm and Friends in Open Celebration. And we would set up geodesic domes. We would have 500 people painting one painting together. So we're driving around in these buses, and eventually the buses started to fill up with kids. And the third word out of every woman's mouth was house. So we had to anchor the buses somewhere. So here we are in Berkeley, California, the Athens of the West. We came to Berkeley because the political climate was such that we felt comfortable here. We also were here because of people like Mario Savio and the free speech movement, because we had ties to People's Park.
Well, in the Bay Area, we have a really special kind of a community. Wavy has been involved in the music scene in the Bay Area for forever.
Well, when I was a kid, I would go backstage at the Grateful Dead concerts from friends, and I remember there was Wavy would run the kids' room, it was called, and he would it was just a special room backstage where all the family and friends and of the adults, the kids would have all night babysitting during Grateful Dead concerts, and he would be the guy who would be in there most of the night, running blockhead tournaments and giving prizes. And bubbles and things like that.
I started to be a clown at the Oakland Children's Hospital. And I used to put on my makeup in front of the youngest children, as I'd say about 7 or 8% of all kids are terrified of clowns. But if they saw the makeup go on and I made up the little kids, it would demonstrify the clown image.
There's kids, I remember they're hoping he learns their name and stuff. So I remember when he just, in the early years of knowing that he actually year after year would remember who I was.
Kids give me nostalgia for the future. I had a grant at Cal State teaching improvisation to neurologically handicapped kids. In fact, I used to teach improvisation at Columbia Pictures, and Harrison Ford was one of my students back in the early 60s.
I really think of him as a teacher of mine. He learned improvisational acting skills back in the day from the committee and these renowned groups in the 60s. And so I try to think that I really am lucky enough to have him be one of my teachers of how to do space eat and man on the street interviews and open up to being in the moment in improv theater. So theatrically, I feel like I've learned a lot from him and his emceeing skills, because he's that's really his main thing, is being a master of ceremonies.
But at our last big show, we had to save his 30th anniversary. It was at the Paramount Theater in Oakland, and it was a lot of our really good friends: Bonnie Raitt, David Crosby, and Graham Nash, and Jackson Browne, and Hot Tuna and Los Lobos and Elvis Costello, and Wavy's the MC, so he comes out between every act and he changes costumes between every act. That's one of the things he does. So, and he's always in a big hurry to do that. And he likes to have his bubbles and his clown nose and all of his little props, his fish.
I go to People's Park and do events there frequently. I have previously been involved being in Sanity Claus for the Toys for Tots drive, but since my recent infirmities, I don't hold up so well doing that. I do many concerts at the Berkeley Community Theater for SEVA and other causes. Whoever reels me in, that's good, and I've got time to do it.
So seva is a Sanskrit word for service, and service to humankind. And it was started 31 years ago in 1978 by Wavy and a group of his friends who had had an experience in Nepal. They did a survey in Nepal and to find out what they could do that would do the most good there. So they decided the most needed thing in Nepal was to cure blindness. They've done 3 million surgeries around the world today. Mainly we're here in Berkeley, and what we do here in Berkeley is fundraise for all the programs that are all around the world and help coordinate logistics. The very first funding for SEVA Foundation came from the Grateful Dead. In 1979, Wavy Gravy was on an airplane just by chance on the way home from that first SEVA meeting in Michigan.
I got on the plane in Detroit to go back to the Bay Area, and who was on the plane? The Grateful Dead. And where were they going to go? Could they avoid me? No, not without parachutes.
He approached them one by one and asked them if they would do a benefit for SEVA.
So I started with the drummers, and I got them to agree to do this concert at the Kaiser Auditorium in Oakland. Bill Graham didn't know it was a benefit. Why am I the last to find out these things? He was really steamed. But as the concert was going on, I was sitting backstage in Garcia's chair, and Bill slips me this piece of paper, and I open it up, and it's a check for $10,000.
So that happened, and then the money they raised, $100,000, and with that money, they did a survey in Nepal. So they rented a helicopter, and they went to Nepal, and they did a survey, and they figured out how they were going to do rural eye camps in that area. So it all started then in 1979, and every year since, Wavy has put on a benefit concert with all the different artists that he knows to raise money for SEVA. So, and most of those shows have been in the Bay Area. We have a low overhead, and we have a lot of integrity, and I think that community of support is really what's helped SEVA stay alive through all these years.
So that was the beginning of SEVA, and then I did many shows at the Berkeley Community Theater with various members of the Grateful Dead, and Jerry and Captain John Kahn on my 50th birthday 30 years ago. It was a heck of a lot of money, and I gave it to not just for the blindness stuff, but in the environmental movement, to the homeless folks. It was a real rush for my first half century. The funds from that went to send the children of economically challenged parents to Camp Win a Rainbow. I think Camp Win a Rainbow has helped to soften me against the slings and arrows of outrageous bleep holes.
It's been quite an honor to work with Wavy Gravy for all these years. One thing people don't know about Wavy, they see him as a clown, but he's a very serious person. The clown is, I mean, he uses the clown to keep things light, but he's super serious about what he does. He's the most committed person I've ever met to his goal, and he'll do whatever it takes to get to it. He never gives up, and that's the one thing he's taught me, is never ever give up and to roll with the punches.
Oh, let me do basic human needs for you. And wouldn't it be neat if the people that you meet had shoes upon their feet and something to eat? And wouldn't it be fine now if all humankind had shelter? Basic human needs, basic human deeds, doing what comes naturally down in the garden where no one is apart. Deep down in the garden of your heart. was an ice cream flavor for Ben and Jerry for 8 years.
Open up to being in the moment in improv theater. So theatrically, I feel like I've learned a lot from him and his emceeing skills, because he's, that's really his main thing, is being a master of ceremonies.
What is Wavy's role at the camp?
Wavy's the creative director. So his wife Jahanara she's the really executive director, or what do you call it, program director. I guess she's the one that does the hiring and the firing and the scheduling.
The kids that come out, we're not trying to create little movie stars or circus stars, although it does happen. What we are trying to do is to create universal human beings that can deal with anything that comes down the pike, with some style and humor and compassion. I call it survival in the 21st century, or how to duck with a sense of humor and a little compassion. The young people who are running the camp now started as campers when they were 7.
I think we have a really good relationship. He calls me Jazz, and hey, what's going on? Hey, good to see you, boss.
In what way has your involvement with so many famous musicians in the Bay Area music scene helped with your efforts to make a difference in the world?
Well, I wouldn't say just the Bay Area music scene, although it is rich with great musicians.